There is something about you, a light, a fire, a power so undeniable that even the shadows have taken notice. You were chosen not because you were the strongest, not because you were the loudest, but because you carry something sacred, something eternal. And when the divine places favor upon you, there will always be something trying to pull you away from it. It never starts with force. No, it starts with a whisper. A voice that sounds just like yours, telling you to doubt, to hesitate, to dim your own brilliance. It cloaks itself in charm, in comfort, in everything you once craved but never needed. It doesn't drag you down, it seduces you, weaving illusions so beautiful that you forget who you are. There is something undeniable about you. Something set apart, something different. You may not always see it, but others do. Some admire it, some fear it, and some want to claim it for themselves. This is what happens when you carry something divine. You weren't placed in this world to simply exist, to blend in, to shrink yourself for the comfort of others. You were chosen not because you are perfect, but because you are meant for something greater than you can imagine. And when you are chosen, you will be noticed. The light in you will draw people in, not just those who wish you well, but also those who see your worth and want to control it. That's the weight of being chosen. It's not just a gift, it's a responsibility to protect what is sacred within you, to walk in alignment with the purpose placed upon you, to not let your value be rewritten by those who do not understand the depth of who you are. But here's the thing, when something powerful is at work in you, resistance will come. Not everything that admires you is good for you. Not every presence in your life is meant to uplift you. Sometimes attraction is not about love, it's about possession. Sometimes the battle is not between right and wrong, but between who you were meant to be and who something else wants you to become. This is where your strength is tested. This is where you decide whether you will let yourself be lured into illusions or stand firmly in the truth of who you are. The ones who see your light and want to use it will come with charm, with promises, with words that feel like warmth but carry the weight of chains. They will make you believe that love should come at the cost of your purpose, that being wanted is the same as being valued, that surrendering your fire for them is a noble sacrifice. But you were not chosen to be tamed. You were not chosen to be led astray by what only pretends to care for you. You were chosen to rise, to lead, to stand unshaken, even when the shadows come wrapped in admiration. Because the truth is, if something truly loved your light, it would never try to dim it. There is something in you that cannot be ignored, a presence, a fire, a depth that makes people stop and take notice, even when you don't see it yourself. You were never meant to move through this world unnoticed because you carry something rare, something powerful, something divine. And the thing about light is, it doesn't get to choose who it attracts. Some will be drawn to it for warmth, for guidance, for inspiration. Others will be drawn to it for control, for possession, for the chance to claim something they did not create. When you carry light, you carry both a gift and a burden. The world will see your glow before you do. Some will admire it, some will try to dim it, and some will convince you that love means handing it over. This is how the struggle begins. Not with force, but with persuasion. Not with destruction, but with seduction. You'll be told that shining too brightly is dangerous, that your strength is intimidating, that your fire is too much for this world. But here's the truth. They don't fear your light because it burns them. They fear it because it reveals them. The ones who truly love you will protect your light, not try to control it. But not everyone who claims to love you has good intentions. Some will stand in awe of your fire and say all the right things, only to turn that admiration into something that keeps you small. They don't want to walk beside you. They want to own you. They don't want to nurture your light. They want to make sure it only shines in the way they allow. This is why being chosen comes with battles, not because you are weak, but because you are powerful. You threaten everything that darkness depends on: doubt, fear, insecurity. So it will come for you, not with an attack, but with affection, not with chains, but with sweet words that make you second guess yourself. But love that asks you to dim your light is not love at all. Anything that fears your brilliance is not worthy of standing beside it. You were never meant to be tamed, controlled, or reduced. You are here to shine, to lead, to rise in the fullness of who you are, and no amount of disguised admiration should ever make you forget that. The moment you step into your purpose, the moment you begin to embrace the power within you, something will rise against you. It always does. Not because you are on the wrong path, but because you are on the right one. The world doesn't fight against what is weak, it fights against what is strong. Darkness doesn't chase what belongs to it, it chases what threatens it. And when you carry something divine, something meant to shift the world, you will find yourself facing resistance in ways you never expected. It won't always come in obvious ways. It won't announce itself with chaos and destruction. Sometimes resistance shows up as something that feels like love. It comes as a voice that sounds like admiration but asks you to shrink. It disguises itself as a promise, a safe place, a hand to hold. But in reality, it is a chain wrapped in silk. It tells you that you don't need to fight so hard, that maybe you were never meant to stand out, that maybe surrendering is another form of peace. But here's what they don't tell you. Your power isn't found in staying comfortable. Your purpose isn't meant to be easy. The higher you rise, the stronger the opposition will be, and not because you are failing, but because you are succeeding. When you carry light, darkness notices. When you step into your greatness, distractions appear. And when you start walking toward your destiny, something will try to pull you back. It will come with soft words, with outstretched hands, with the illusion of safety. It will make you wonder if your purpose is worth the battle, if maybe you are too tired to keep fighting, if maybe choosing an easier path is the same as choosing happiness. But deep down, you already know the truth. Anything that asks you to let go of your fire is not here to love you. It is here to stop you. Anything that tries to make you question your own light is not here to support you. It is here to control you. You are chosen, and that means you will face resistance. But resistance is not a sign to stop. It is a sign to keep going. It means you are exactly where you are meant to be. The ones who fear your power will try to pull you away from it, but they do not get to rewrite your destiny. You do. So stand tall, keep moving, and when something tries to convince you that surrendering is the same as being loved, remember this. Real love never asks you to become less of yourself. Not everything that reaches for you is meant to hold you. Not everything that admires you is here to protect you. Some things come into your life not because they love your light, but because they want to own it. And the most dangerous ones, they won't come as enemies, they will come as comfort, they will come as desire, they will come as everything you once longed for, wrapped in words that feel like home, disguising themselves as love. This is how deception works. It doesn't pull you down with force, it seduces you with familiarity. It studies you, learns your fears, memorizes the shape of your loneliness, and offers itself as the answer. It won't tell you to give up your power all at once. That would be too obvious. Instead, it will ask for small things, tiny pieces of yourself, until one day you wake up and realize you've given away too much. The most dangerous chains are the ones we don't recognize as chains. They feel like devotion. They feel like compromise. They feel like something noble. But the moment you are asked to choose between love and your own soul, between someone else's needs and your own purpose, that is not love. It is control disguised as affection. But here's the thing, your life was never meant to be possessed. It was never meant to be tamed, quieted, or reshaped into something that fits inside someone else's hands. You were chosen for something greater, something untouchable. And anything that truly loves you will never ask you to become smaller just to make them more comfortable. You will know the difference. Real love does not demand your fire, it fuels it. It does not fear your power, it honors it. It does not ask you to surrender your purpose just to keep the peace. It stands beside you as you rise into it. Anything less than that, that is not love. That is an illusion designed to make you forget who you are. And you were never meant to be lost in someone else's shadow. The battle never begins with chains. It begins with whispers, with questions that sound like your own voice, with thoughts that seem harmless at first. Are you really meant for something greater? What if you're not as special as you think? What if the fire inside you is just a flicker, not a flame? Doubt doesn't knock on the door. It seeps in through the cracks. It doesn't fight you with force, it convinces you to fight yourself. And the ones who want to control your light, the ones who fear your power, they know this. They won't come for you with aggression. They will come with admiration that slowly turns into persuasion. They will call you strong, but in the next breath, they will ask if maybe you're being too much. They will tell you they love your fire, but then they will ask if maybe you should quiet it down just a little, just enough to make them more comfortable. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens over time in small, quiet moments where you begin to second guess yourself. Your worth is not something that can be bargained with. It is not something that can be given away, traded, or taken from you. It was placed within you long before the world ever had an opinion about who you should be, and yet there will always be something or someone trying to convince you otherwise, not with outright rejection, but with quiet, careful persuasion. It starts subtly, a compliment wrapped in control, a love that comes with conditions, a voice that tells you that in order to be chosen, you must first become smaller, that in order to be loved, you must first be more agreeable, that in order to be accepted, you must first give up parts of yourself, little by little, until one day you look in the mirror and no longer recognize who you are. But the truth is, you were not created to fit inside someone else's idea of who you should be. You were not given this fire, this light, this undeniable energy just to hand it over to the first person who claims to want it. Your worth is not up for debate. It is not something that needs to be proven, defended, or explained. It simply is. And anything that tries to make you forget that, whether it comes as a relationship, a temptation, or a force that calls itself love, is not here to uplift you. It is here to own you. And yet, here's the thing, what is divinely placed cannot be stolen. Your soul is not a possession to be taken. Your purpose is not a prize to be won. You do not belong to anyone who demands your fire be dimmed in exchange for their approval. You do not belong to anything that makes you question your own greatness. What is meant for you will never come at the cost of losing yourself. So when someone asks you to choose between their love and your own power, remember, real love never asks you to become less. Real love does not require your silence. Real love does not need you to prove your worth. It already sees it. And anything that tries to convince you otherwise, that is not love. That is a cage disguised as devotion. And you were never meant to be caged. You were meant to soar. Not everything that calls your name is meant to walk beside you. Not everything that reaches for you is meant to hold you. The higher you rise, the more distractions will appear, not as obstacles, but as invitations. Invitations to step away from your purpose, to trade your fire for comfort, to let go of the very thing that makes you who you are. It won't come as an obvious threat. It will come as something luring, something that feels like destiny, but tastes like compromise. It will show up as someone who sees your light, but doesn't want to honor it, only control it. It will appear as love, admiration, and devotion, but slowly you'll feel yourself losing pieces of who you were meant to be. The most dangerous distractions are not the ones that push you off your path. They are the ones that make you believe you were never meant to walk it in the first place. And this is where the real battle begins. It's not always a war between right and wrong. It's a war between who you are and who something else wants you to become. Between the fire in your soul and the voices telling you it's safer to put it out. Between the love that honors your purpose and the illusion that asks you to abandon it. The distractions won't demand that you surrender everything at once. They'll ask for a little of your confidence, a little of your time, a little of your voice. But if you give them enough, one day you'll look back and realize you've given away too much. But you were never meant to be easily swayed. You were never meant to hand over your destiny to something that only pretended to cherish it. What is truly meant for you will never require you to betray yourself in order to keep it. It will never make you feel torn between love and purpose, between being chosen and being free. If something pulls you away from your power, it was never love. If something makes you question your own worth, it was never yours to begin with. You are here to rise, to step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. And when the distractions come, when something tries to convince you that you were never meant for greatness, let that be your reminder. You wouldn't be tested if you weren't powerful. You wouldn't be tempted if you weren't chosen. And you wouldn't feel resistance if you weren't on the right path. Keep going, keep rising. And never, never trade your fire for anything that fears its warmth. Love is not supposed to feel like a battle between your heart and your destiny. It is not meant to make you choose between who you are and who someone else wants you to be. Love, true love, does not pull you away from your path. It strengthens your steps. It does not ask you to dim your light. It stands in awe of its brilliance. But sometimes what looks like love is not love at all. Sometimes it comes dressed in admiration, in devotion, in a voice that whispers, I choose you. But what it really means is I want to own you. Not all attention is love. Not all desire is pure. And not everything that longs for you has your best interests at heart. There are those who will claim to love you, not because they see your soul, but because they see your power and want to shape it into something that serves them. And this is where many lose themselves, confusing possession for love, mistaking control for protection, believing that to be wanted is the same as being cherished. But love that requires you to abandon yourself is not love at all. Love that chains you to someone else's version of who you should be is not love. It is fear wrapped in affection. Real love does not stand in the way of your calling. It does not ask you to sacrifice your voice, your fire, your divine purpose just to keep the peace. Love that is real will walk beside you, not ahead of you, not behind you, and never against you. It will remind you of your strength when you forget. It will never shrink in the presence of your power. It will never make you feel like you must choose between being loved and being free. If something claims to love you but asks you to change, to quiet down, to forget the path you were meant to walk, it was never love. It was a distraction, a test, a temptation meant to see if you would trade your destiny for a fleeting illusion. But you were not chosen to be possessed. You were not called to be tamed. You were meant to rise, to walk fully in your purpose, to be loved in a way that never asks you to be anything less than the fire you were born to be. There will come a moment when you stand at the edge of a choice, the choice to step fully into your power or to surrender it to something that claims to love you. It will not be an obvious war. It will not come with loud demands or harsh commands. No, it will come softly, sweetly, wrapped in words that feel like comfort, in arms that feel like home, in promises that seem too good to resist. It will not look like a battle, but it will be one. Because the greatest tests do not come in the form of storms that try to destroy you. They come in the form of distractions that try to own you. The ones that don't demand your fire but slowly convince you to put it out. The ones that do not force you into submission but rather make you believe that surrendering is the same as being loved. The ones that do not take your power from you but persuade you to hand it over willingly. But here's the truth. What is meant for you will never come at the cost of losing yourself. Anything that asks you to dim your light, to step away from your purpose, to make yourself smaller so someone else can feel bigger, that is not love. That is fear. That is control. That is a test to see if you remember who you are. And you were never meant to be owned. You were not chosen just to be claimed by something that does not honor your fire. You were not given this strength, this vision, this light, just to trade it away for someone else's comfort. You were called to rise, to lead, to be exactly who you were created to be, unapologetically, fully, without hesitation. So when the choice comes, when something stands before you and asks you to trade your destiny for love that feels just a little too confining, take a breath and remember, love should set you free, not bind you. Love should see your power and bow in reverence, not try to reshape it into something smaller. Love should walk beside you, not hold you back. And anything that fears your fire was never meant to hold your heart. You were chosen for more. You were chosen to rise. And nothing, no illusion, no temptation, no false promise of love should ever make you forget that. You were never meant to live a life of hesitation. You were never called to be half of yourself just to make someone else feel whole. You were chosen not because you were ordinary, but because there is something extraordinary within you, something that shakes the very foundation of anything that seeks to control it. And that kind of power does not go unnoticed. It is seen, it is felt, and sometimes it is pursued by forces that do not love it, but rather wish to tame it. This is the test, the moment where you decide who you will be. Will you shrink to fit into something that does not honor you? Will you trade your fire for the illusion of safety? Will you mistake possession for love? Or will you rise? Will you walk boldly in your purpose, knowing that real love will never ask you to choose between being cherished and being free? What is meant for you will never ask you to betray yourself. What is real will never fear your strength. It will celebrate it. Anything that asks you to lessen your light, anything that makes you feel like your fire is too much, is not love. It is a distraction. It is a test. It is a whisper meant to make you forget who you are.